shake your dreams from your hair. I'm already there, right beside you. So please, don't hide, just say I'll be there if it breaks, right beside you. Suddenly I know now how it feels. I no longer have to beg or steal. I can stand now on this higher ground, where love is just a sound, where love is.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee and Cresties. I'm Crystal with Gecko Diva, and I got a new mug. So Christmas holidays, there's been a lot of really cool mugs that came out, and I mean, we're finally done the 15 minutes of lame. It was a long, it was like 6 weeks of campaigning, and I came across this one, which is main character energy, which I thought was very appropriate with all the videos that we had going out, where we got to channel our inner, our inner, I guess, actress. I'm definitely a bad actress, but I really tried. we really went for it this year. Yeah, so we got some main character energy this morning, and apparently I can't talk because I'm still in Bermuda Triangle week. So it's been an interesting holiday. My husband and I are off. We're off on vacation. We're off until the 6th. Every day is blending into the next, and I had to remind myself that we are the weekend. So we've been kind of, blessed to have the time off. It's, sleep in. It's always, we're up at 5 a.m. So this has been kind of a bit of a different week with us, not setting alarms and waking up and realizing how late it is. So it's kind of thrown us off our game. So this morning we're up. I know he's up and he's at the gym or on his way to the gym this morning. Because, we've been feeling really lazy this week. So I don't know how everyone else's Christmas holiday has been going. I hope it's been going well. We've got a lot of snow here up near Ottawa in Canada. It's been pretty cold. I know there's some places that have been colder than us and gotten way more snow. Our guest Nicole does not have snow. She's in Florida. So we've been talking about the difference in weather, and definitely there is a difference, that's for sure. But yeah, it's been a really good holiday. Trying to spend time with the family. We have Christmas on the farm. So we do this every year on Christmas Day, and basically it's kind of like an open door where we have our family that comes, but we also have friends that we've met along the way that may not have family or by nowhere necessarily that they have plans for Christmas, so they have a place that they can come by and hang out and have a turkey dinner. So that's what we did for Christmas. And Boxing Day, we use those gift cards and we go Boxing Day shopping at the mall. So it's been kind of our annual tradition. We go with the kids and they go and they get all their shopping in, which is a lot of fun. We try to get there really early. That's probably the only other day that we got up really early this week was Boxing Day, so we could beat the crowds. And still we got there at open and it got busy within like an hour. It was crazy. Let's see who we got in the chat this morning. We got 10 people, I think, watching so far, which is pretty awesome on a Sunday morning in Bermuda Triangle week. It's, holidays are a little bit more chill. And this is their last episode of the year, I may add, which is pretty awesome. I've been doing this since March and it's already like end of the year and getting into the new year, which is wild to me that we have the last episode of the year. Let's see who we do some validation this morning. We got Gecko Cove in the house. Good morning. Time to rise and shine. Yeah. We're, you know what? Like, honestly, it felt so good to be up this morning, like at a reasonable time. So I think that we're going to keep this going for the rest of the week. I'm going to have to start setting alarms to get up before 9 to really feel like myself again. Let's see who else we have in the house. We have Mike in the house. Good morning. We have Quality Bread Exotics in the house. Good morning. Gecko Nerds in the house. Good morning. Jen Brands in the house. Good morning. My first time making it to Alive. That's exciting. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you get to make it to Alive. It's always fun to have a good crowd watching live and being able to interact in the comments. I think that's one of my favorite parts about having it live is that we can kind of chat and go back and forth with comments. It's a lot more interactive. Amy's in the house. Good morning, Amy. There's my husband on the way to the gym. Good morning and Happy New Year's. It's a little early to say Happy New Year's, but yes, early Happy New Year's. We're getting there. Jen says she's exhausted for Christmas. I have 4 girls and too many Barbie dolls to open. Oh, goodness. I bet. I can only imagine. Quality Bread Exotics is first time watching. Glad to be here. Glad that you're here too. Welcome to the fam. Fat Man's in the house. Good morning, everyone. And Hot Host. Thank you, Chris. I try. It's a little tough during holiday week, okay? I can tell you that I went late last night. That's the problem when you wake up late, then you turn into a night owl and then you can't get to sleep. So I'm used to falling asleep at like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night to bed probably until 2 in the morning because I was up, like I slept in so late yesterday morning. So it happens. My kids and dogs are my alarm. Yeah, you see, when your kids get to be older, Bobby, like my 12-year-old is like 12-year-old going on 18, where she could probably sleep till 1 in the afternoon. And my 17-year-old is the same. The only reason he's up early is because he's worked the last 2 days. So he has to set his alarm and he's up before us. And as for our dogs, well, our dogs will sleep until we get up. So we're some of the lucky ones where the dogs won't actually wake us. I have to like pry my dog out of bed. Live is better than pre-recorded. I agree. And then good morning, Amy. Am I missing anyone else? Christmas was working on our first year breeding program. That's awesome. Excited to hear that. Yeah, it's been a fun year. There's been a lot this year. And like I'm just sitting here trying to see like how to put together a year end recap because I know you're going to see a lot of those on Instagram. Everyone's going to do their little year end recap. It's going to come out with the template on Instagram and you're going to see a lot of things posted, but I feel like just to think back on all the things like that I know I've accomplished and that I've seen a lot of other people accomplish. It's been a really, really good year. Excited for 2025. I've got a lot of really fun pairings ready to go. Looking to pair in the new year and really excited to see what's going to produce. I have 2 eggs left in the incubator and one of them is due like any day now, should be hatching. And I've been watching it like a hawk because I'm really excited because it's part of the green project. So I'm really excited to see baby hatchling number 2 come out. But yeah, it's been definitely an interesting year for sure. I'm going to pop into our tea time. So, honest, I have not spent a whole lot of time this week on Instagram. I have been completely exhausted from campaigning. So I just kind of popped on and kind of would like a couple things and stuff. I haven't even really posted myself. So I haven't really seen much. I have noticed a lot of people have been posting Christmas sales, which is awesome. Before the new year, there's been a lot of lives and purges on Palm Street as well. So it's definitely a good time of year to, spend all that holiday money that you're getting and gift like in your cards and stuff and go buy geckos. I know myself, I got a gecko last minute. I didn't buy it. My husband bought a chameleon gecko. finally Gino, my little male chameleon gecko, has a girlfriend. So she's in quarantine right now, and I'm really excited to have a second pair of chameleon geckos to be working with. But and of course, I said going into this year, I'm like, okay, this is going to be the first year that we don't have a gecko or a ball python or something as a gift for Christmas. And of course, it was like I think it was Christmas Eve, and my husband will probably correct me in the comments, but I'm pretty sure it was Christmas Eve. And I was like, yeah, okay, we're getting this gecko, which was from a friend of mine. So it was really exciting. So I have a new gecko before the end of the year. Um, One of the things that I wanted to mention, I did get the custom order. I don't know if you guys had seen, but I got these hoodies. It's the Night Howler ones with my little martini girl, so the purple hoodies. So I did do one order of those because I did put out like a little blast of doing like pre-orders. If anyone is ever interested in these, I still have. I just have to order more hoodies, but I still have the design that I can make more. I am thinking of doing coffee and Cresty hoodies and t-shirts in the new year, and coffee and Cresty ones. I was also thinking of mugs because I mean, it'd be really appropriate to have it on a mug. But yeah, so some of the new stuff that's coming down, I'm going to post again, repost and share, just kind of seeking more people to submit like positivity in the community. Cause like I said, always say in my previous episodes, I'm one person and I can't see everything. And if anyone else has other positivity that they've seen in the community that they want to kind of promote, whether it's something that's another, breeder is doing that's awesome, a new product, a new project, whatever it may be, send it my way. And I am more than happy to talk about it on the next episode. For the podcast, just a mini announcement. I am going to be taking January off. I'm taking a break. So I'm January off, and it's mainly just to kind of refocus and kind of like restructure for the show the new year. So how I've been doing it right now has been basically kind of coming, getting guests along. For December, I kind of had more of a schedule set, and then you kind of knew what was happening, and easier doing things. And I kind of would like to switch to something like that in the year. So January kind of time to come together at least a month or two in advance. And but I'm gonna miss everyone because I know I was off last week and I was excited to be back today. So definitely it'll be a bit of a tough. I might do one after dark episode one evening in January. I haven't decided yet. More to come on that. But for the morning show, January, I'm gonna be waking up in the morning all huddled up in my blanket and taking a break while dealing with the cold and putting a schedule together. We got a couple more comments in here. Let's see here. Good morning, Gecko fam. Good morning, Aquatic Moose. Miami Art Geckos is in the house. Good morning. And Jen Brand says, yes, I came in at a good time. Black Friday deals, growing my babies up to learn about them before I try to breed. Trying to have a lot of patience. Yeah, it's tough. When you get in there and you see all these really awesome animals, I get it. I still want to buy all of them up, and you're like, well, that will work in this project and this one will work in this one. Then you're trying to justify it. It's a slippery slope. Okay. It happens quick. Who else? Some shout outs to Scott in the chat. Yeah, so that's basically what I have for the tea time this morning. You guys all saw we closed up 15 minutes of lame. I did not win, but definitely appreciated everyone's support, and we ran a really good campaign together as a team. Go Gecko community. So I really appreciate every single one of you who helped support me through that. And it definitely opened doors and put a huge spotlight on the Gecko community and kind of expanded that. I even heard from some ball python breeders that they had Gecko breeders contact them to get ball pythons. And then I've heard opposite side of things too. So it's kind of neat to see that kind of crossover and and really it was the fun that I had with all of you that really helped support that. Just was, I wouldn't change that for anything. Like that was just amazing to see everyone kind of rally behind and kind of brought a really a lot of positive stuff, I think, to the community and as a whole, like to what we're doing online and kind of doing collabs, and working together and showing that there's a lot of good that can happen as well, amongst some not so fun things that we see. So definitely appreciate each and every one of you for that. I think it's time to bring on our guest. So I will bring her in. Hold on. Good morning, Nicole.
Hi, Crystal. Hi, everyone.
How are you doing today?
Fantastic. Glad it's not snowing
Yeah,
like it is up in Canada.
you're in Florida, so you're getting the wonderful weather. You're getting your tan on.
It's great. I'm tan. I have the air conditioning on.
I
I'm so
know.
sorry you're bundled up in a coat, but it's great here.
Hey, I got a new coat too on Boxing Day. I was really excited about it. I'm like, oh, this is really warm. It has down. And then you're here and you're like, I'm in a t-shirt.
I'm in a t-shirt with the air on. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Crystal, from everyone in the Gecko community, really sincerely, thank you. You were amazing on 15 Minutes of Lame, and we all love what you did, and we all support you. So thank you for doing that for us.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Doesn't Nicole look fabulous today? Like she's just glowing,
Thank you. Glowing geckos.
right? It's so appropriate. So for those, I mean, you have a lot of fans in the chat today, but there's also some people who might not be as familiar with you. So why don't
Mhm.
you give your little spiel about who's Nicole? What's like, how did
Yeah.
you start into geckos? Like, how did this start for you?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Short version. I've been in about the same time as you, about 3 years. So I was one of the COVID breeders that came in. I think a lot of those breeders have since left, but some of us have stuck around and really had an amazing time and made great connections. My background originally is in veterinary medicine. I was working clinically as a technician and then as a hospital manager. And then most recently, my master's is in health administration. So, similar to you, I do a lot of management and planning research, and I worked in a lot of zoos and aquariums. I worked with exotics. We may touch on that a little bit with, I mean, dolphins and
Yeah.
sharks and crocodilians, all kinds of species. So when I left the exotic animal world, I was definitely, I was missing having a lot of animals around me. Of course, you saw, I think one of my dogs walked by, but
Your little puppy walked by.
I needed something to fill that void. And about probably 3 going on 4 years, I was at Reptilian Nation, and
Okay.
I didn't really know about crested geckos. I knew I had ball pythons and corn snakes and other animals growing up, and I think like a lot of people, I saw a crested gecko, and I said, "That's it, I'm in." And over about 2 years, really seriously, 3 to 4 casually, just I'm all in, and it's grown a lot, and I'm so grateful to everyone who supported me. Like all of you that woke up at 9 a.m. to hang out with us. You guys know I'm Palm Street. I love you guys. Thank you.
That's awesome. So for like you worked with a lot of different like exotic animals and stuff. So
Mhm.
are crested geckos like was that the first reptile that you had as a pet or
No, when I was
have you
younger,
had other
I
Sorry, go
mean,
ahead.
with with zoos, I had a lot of exotic pets. Hi, Scott, I love you too. Like the dolphins and sea lions, right? Sharks, so many animals. But growing up, my first reptile was a corn snake, and my dad
Okay.
was a big Star Trek fan, so his name was Chekhov. But I didn't really have a lot of reptiles as pets growing up. And then when I worked in zoos and aquariums, I know you guys support my gecko addiction. I love it. That really brought me a lot of love. My first department in zoos was working with more of the reptile type species and working with
Okay.
herps. And So when I left that field, I don't know why I gravitated towards crested geckos. I think like a lot of us, I think I saw one and held one and saw the morphs and colors, and I was done for at that point.
They're just so damn cute.
I
Their big eyes
know.
and they look like
I
little
love them.
dragons.
The eyelashes, let me tell you.
Yeah, it's all about the eyelashes.
Yes.
Let's talk about what you were doing before. So, like, you were working with exotics, and you sent me some pictures. And I thought this was pretty flippin' amazing. So, like, you worked with dolphins,
Yeah.
which is I don't know. It's a lot of like I think our generation's like dream growing up and watching like Free
Mhm.
Willy and like all these things. Like, oh, I want to work
Yeah.
with dolphins and whales and stuff. But, like, you went and did it, girl. Like, you worked with the dolphins.
That's what a lot of people say. It's very difficult. It's really hard to get into that industry. A lot of it
Yeah.
is unpaid internships and moving across the Quincy remembers he had 2 years ago, me meeting you, Quincy. Working with exotics is always a passion of mine and something I'll continue to do, even unprofessionally when I go visit my friends. But I mean, working with the animals, like large animals in the water, I've worked professionally with a lot of sea turtle species, different dolphin species, whale species. I mean, honestly, too many to even name sharks. And that really gave me like a professional gateway to work with the animals I have now. So my approach to working with my geckos and other species is from a place of I just love the animals, right? Like you working in these zoos, the pay is terrible. You do it as
Yeah.
it's a passion job, and that's how the geckos are for me now. But you and I talked a bit about how the way I approach working with my animals is from managing these multi-million dollar collections in terms of like their health and their care and making sure they're safe and the biosecurity side of it. So I think I have a bit of a different
Yeah.
perspective than like some hobbyists maybe.
Yeah, and also like working when you're working in an industry like that too, right? I would imagine that there's a lot of there's a lot of rules around that you're already familiar with, right? That you're used to
Hmm.
dealing with biosecurity measures and stuff. Like, I mean, you kind of have to. I mean, I'm sure there's some facilities that are a little bit more strict about those rules than others. Um like I see these pictures and I agree with Scott. He's saying I'm going to sell Chris. He says he saw found pics of you at the theater of the sea before we knew you. So, like, I just think this is
Crazy.
amazing. Like, you should at the next expo just have a whole table of pictures of you and like sign
Me
off.
with a dolphin.
Like, I
you,
knew
you know,
someone who swam with the dolphins and threw her into the air, apparently, which is
when
pretty
you do it
amazing.
every day, of course it's always incredible, but when you do it every day, it does become a job in a way. Even though every day I was
Yeah.
checking on dolphins and turtles and sharks and managing all these animals, it still ends up being a job in a way, which is so interesting to me, you know?
Yeah. So I want to know. So how long did it take you to train to be able to do that?
Oh, a decade. I mean, you have to have a bachelor's of science. I moved all around the country, unpaid internships. You're the person that's just cleaning you're covered in fish. You smell like fish 24/7. You do all the grunt work. It takes years to build up to a position. Like you see what I'm doing
Yeah.
in these photos, we call it water work.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 years realistically, and a lot of it is behavior. So it's a lot of just cognitive behavioral training and clinical behavior. So that's another aspect of working with reptiles. People think reptiles aren't trainable. They're so trainable.
Yeah.
I've trained alligators. I've trained crocodiles. You can train them. They're not mammals, right? They're going to move at a slower pace and they have different reward centers, but all these animals are trainable.
Yeah, and so I guess it's just one day after all the grunt work, and you're there dealing with all the like oh, I got to do all the fish stuff and all that. And they're like, oh,
Yeah.
you get to put on the fancy wetsuit today.
No,
And
it's like, okay, you can pet the dolphin and then you wait a week and then the next week like, okay, you can pet two dolphins. It's really slow. So you really do start at the bottom and you work your way up, and it's
Bobby, you're
brutal, but I
learning.
loved it.
Bobby, you're learning how to not have to spend a lot of money to pet a dolphin for 5 minutes. It'll take you 10 years You won't have
Yeah,
to spend it.
just
You'll
move
have
around
to
the
spend a lot of
country.
money in other ways to get there.
It was a fantastic job, and I of course keep in contact with a lot of my friends there. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
there's some sea turtles, some sea lions.
that's so
So
cool.
that gave me a really good, I think, transition into private private business entrepreneurship, because for me the geckos are a passion. I, like many of you, I work a full-time job, right?
Yeah.
I do research in academia, and this is what I love doing because this is what I did for so much of my life.
Yeah. And then you got the crocodiles and the sharks.
Yeah, she's an alligator.
Alligator. Sorry, alligator. That's right. Doesn't have the skinny face.
Sharks. Oh yeah. So geckos are easy peasy.
That's
This is
cool.
a
And you,
voluntary blood draw on an alligator. So again, our reptiles are trainable, guys. They all have personalities and behaviors, and this is an alligator we trained to do an voluntary ultrasound guided blood draw. So there's so many things
wow,
you can do that I think people need to think outside the box with their animals.
that's awesome.
Hmm.
So, how are you, like, how was that step back from doing that to like now doing more of an academia type of a role? Because like out there you're in the field, you kind of, I'm guessing
Yeah.
because you missed that, the geckos kind of filled that little void, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I they really do. I'm one of those, I have a lot of animals now. And Crystal and I were actually talking about the word collection. Like
Yeah.
we say my collection, but we love these animals so much, right? Even every little baby gecko I have, I love them. And even if they don't all have names, I still know where they are in my house, for example. So it was hard going from being very active and in the sun in the Florida Keys every day. So the geckos have really filled a part of my life. That's the passion for animals. And education is something I love to do. So even though I'm maybe 3, 4 years of experience versus someone that has 20, coming from, I've been a registered veterinary technician since 2010. I mean, the maid of honor at my wedding is a veterinarian. I've managed a lot of veterinary hospitals. So I'm very
Yeah.
in tune with the veterinary side. And I like to give my perspective on things. That a lot of it, I love the experience a lot of these experts bring, but there's a lot of things that I feel like I can bring to the table that's maybe not as common because I worked
Yeah.
in the professional side of it.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's the thing, like you know, that sometimes we forget, like, you know, you could be new coming into it, but it the background that you have can allow you to have a whole different perspective or a whole different
Yeah.
side to how you approach, you know, building a business and working with these animals, right? And
Hmm.
like we talked about it offline too, like we're very new to reptiles as well. Like, I mean, my husband and I are both COVID breeders as well, right? So we
Hmm.
came into
Yeah.
this because, you know, it piqued our interest. Like, I mean, I had plants before this, and then it kind of went from plants to, oh, I can make bioactive stuff. Oh, I could like have an animal in there, you know. And then when we had
Yeah.
for us, it started with ball pythons, and it was mainly because of our daughter because she really wanted a snake. And it was a
Hmm.
slippery slope from there. But we're both like very passionate about animals, and of course we've had animals, we have them, like we, you know, we were more into the livestock side of things, and we had the horses and the pigs.
Yeah.
But like when you approach something like biosecurity, it's the same concept no matter what
Yeah.
species of animal you're working with. Like when we were working with the pigs or even with the horses, I mean, when you're importing something new or even when you're getting a new animal, there is a whole process, like a quarantine process, right? Like
Right.
it's like for horses, for instance, if you're bringing a new one into the country, there's a quarantine process. If you're going from
Hmm.
one boarding stable to another stable, they don't. However, they have really strict rules on vaccination, and they make sure
Right.
that the horses are up to date on all their vaccinations and whatever they require for that facility, right? So the
Hmm.
it ends up being transferable knowledge that I found anyways being
Yes.
new. Like for me, like
Agree.
I just finished my third season with I, you know, and I had on these podcasts an expert by any means, and I definitely love to hear all that info from other people who've been in the hobby for longer,
Mhm.
but also to kind of um like not necessarily allow the voice for the new people coming in, because there is a lot of value in
Mhm.
that too, and there's a lot of people who bring
Yeah.
some great things, like you're saying from your
Mhm.
experience, right? What have you found has been the most transferable skill, like when you're coming from what you've done before, like
Mhm.
starting a new business, like what have you found has been really helpful for you?
I think there's two sides. On one side, there's like the management of the animals. So I'm very meticulous with record keeping, monitoring for health. My veterinary background gives me, I've seen these animals in the clinic a lot. So a lot of people contact me about, like eye discharge, nose discharge. So for me, one of the biggest transferable skills was veterinary. And I'm connected.
Yeah.
I can text 5 veterinarians like, hey, does this look weird to you? So that's something that, for
You
me
got the in.
has been great. I save a lot on vet bills. I have a little mini pharmacy here basically. And then also I think working with the public for so long, anyone that's done any service industry can probably agree. When I would do, for example, being a veterinary hospital manager, people get upset because, I forgot to fill my dog's medication, and they come at me upset over that. So I think I have good de-escalation skills, good
Yeah.
customer service. And I think one of the biggest things is just positivity. You know, like it's
Yeah.
like Tiki, David and Manny, they say like it's just geckos, guys. Like
Oh,
we need
yeah.
to have that positive community outlook and not be afraid to do shows like this where we discuss hard topics like biosecurity. I mean working with multiple species, there's bleach dips and hand washing, there's all kinds of things, and we had a conversation offline about quarantine and deworming, and I think a lot of breeders maybe don't follow any quarantine or follow any type of true understanding of, what is a fomite. Your phone is a fomite. If you work with your ball pythons, you touch your phone, you wash your hands, you touch your phone, you've reinfected yourself essentially. And luckily with crested geckos, they're all, captive born and bred. We don't have that many issues. But I think
Yeah.
expanding that, that education. So for me, the education, just positive outlook, the veterinary, that's all been really good transferable skills. And then for some reason, this community's just been like really good to me. So I
Yeah.
try to be good back to them. like,
Yeah, and you bring a good point too with the phone, because sometimes a lot of people might not think of, like you'll get a new animal and you'll be super excited, and then you'll, like, before it goes into quarantine, you'll like take a couple pictures because you're going to want to say, hey,
mm-hmm,
I got this new gecko, isn't it? And then it's like, well, how many people actually think after the fact that they have to sterilize their phone? Because now you're going
right.
to bring that same phone into your regular room, and then you're going to
Mm-hmm,
use the phone to take pictures or videos of your animal out of quarantine. You're
right.
still touching this, like all these things. Like I know, super paranoid about that stuff, and I'm there like wiping things down and like sterilizing everything in between, and it's it can be a lot, but when you hear stories where people have had like these horror stories where,
Yeah.
and actually a good one that just recently came out. Um, uh, there's a YouTuber. Why am I blanking on his name? Reptiliatus. He's Canadian, and he has a smaller
Oh,
collection.
yeah.
And
Yes.
he kind of went MIA for several months, and he just put out this month basically explaining why, and it's because he had a snake that passed away and it tested positive for crypto. So then
Oh
he had to
no.
retest all his other snakes, and they also tested positive for crypto, so he explained how he handled that. And
Yeah.
then he's like, well, he has a whole bunch of different and monitors and different species, and he's like, okay, well, now
Mm-hmm.
I have to go down the whole process. And I think he said it was like an 8-month process of going
Yeah.
through all the testing, and it was okay. And and it's a really awesome video if anyone hasn't checked it out yet. And it's
Yeah, I
definitely
haven't seen it. I need to.
for like eye opening, like where you're sitting there and you're like, okay, yeah, like it could be something that's
Hmm.
that quick. And it's an animal, that he's had for a while. And some of these things don't show signs until much later.
No.
And it,
I
it
mean,
might,
most animals don't show any signs until they're on death's door. That's how
yeah,
they stay alive. And I think, for a lot of breeders, especially maybe hobbyists or breeders that you think about, oh, it's such a burden in terms of time and space and having like going upstairs and having a separate room. But if you think
yeah,
about the long picture, I mean, the big picture, the long term, you,
yeah,
I mean, how many thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars do some of us have in our collections, right? And
yeah,
just because you wanted to save maybe a little bit of time and space, you could have something that literally obliterates your entire collection. I mean,
yeah,
it's terrible to think about. So I mean, my takeaway on this topic is, and I'll be honest, I have friends like Scott, Miami Art Geckos. If I get a gecko from Scott, I'm not worried. He lives an hour from me. We're friends. We have so many animals back and forth. But if I have something shipped in from someone on Wharf Market, it's not
yeah,
going directly into my collection. It's in a separate room. And I like to do I think 30 days is achievable for most people. I think longer is better if you can accommodate that. But
yeah,
I think most breeders don't do any type of quarantine, and I think it's I don't think it's talked about quite enough.
yeah.
Pinworms. Jen Brand brought up
Well, that's a
pinworms.
good
All of you
one.
that feed crickets, you might have
Don't be
pinworms.
don't be petrified of them. It is not a scary thing as long as you're on it. So, and that's a very sensitive topic I find for a lot of people, because that tends to be a slander that people will throw around, that I've noticed very
Oh,
easy, where they're like, so and
interesting.
so sells gecko worms, and you'll hear that and you're like, okay, like, and we talked about this yesterday about, the whole biosecurity thing. And
Hmm.
if you're feeding crickets, there is a likelihood that your animals will pick it up.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and
Look at your dogs.
fear and the fear is that they'll pick it up. But if, like, it's like anything, it's even like, when we have my horses and my pigs, they graze. They'll pick things up from the ground and they'll get
Of course. Hmm.
different types of worms. I have
Yeah.
a warming schedule. So I deworm them, and they're on a schedule, and you just stay on top of it. And
Right.
anything else. Like, I do that with
VIP
my
Morphs brought
geckos.
it up.
What's that?
VIP Morphs brought up that the medication is very inexpensive, and it is as simple as
Oh, you cut
go
out there.
taking. Oh, can you hear me? Is it me or you?
Yeah, lost you. You're back.
Yay! All right, great. Yeah, VIP Morphs brought up it's medication. The medication Panicure or for fenbendazole, whatever you're using, it's
Yeah.
very inexpensive, and it really does take you going to a veterinarian with one animal, learning about different intestinal or external parasites. And the
Mhm.
treatment is simple, it's inexpensive. Luckily, again, with crested geckos, we don't have issues like with ball pythons and mites and different things. But
Yeah.
think about every year you take your dog to the vet, what do? You do like your rabies shot, you do a fecal test, they take a monthly, probably flea tick heartworm pill. So parasites are, I'm going to use the word natural. They're natural in the world. People come into contact with them. I'm not saying they're good, but they're out there, and a lot of people probably have, to an extent, worms or different parasites in their collection, and that's why it's important. You and I have like a routine, simple deworming schedule, and it's not that hard to learn how to do that. To check the
Yeah.
calcium stacks, to give a syringe of a dewormer, and especially when the more animals you have, the more important it is, because you don't want, like you said, with reptiliatus, you don't want to have it in your whole collection, because then that's a year-long
Yeah.
project.
Yeah, and if you stay on top of it, it's the easiest way to manage it from not getting out of hand and getting to a
Right.
point where you can't manage it. And like we talked about it too, like I'm coming up to the season. I treat everything before I start breeding, because I'm one that doesn't really like necessarily to want to actively treat a female gecko who's laying eggs. Like, I don't want to put
Yeah.
that, stress on that animal. So I'd rather treat before I start my breeding plans, right? So that's kind of how I do it. and then anything for me that comes into quarantine is going to get treated. So you kind of get your own little vibe that works, like your own little schedule that works for you. What's
Bobby
okay,
brings up a good point.
for a
A
second
lot of
I thought you
people
were going to
may have
say
worms.
what's that?
Go to the next one. So pinworms are actually quite common in children. You see it a lot in human
Yeah,
pediatrics.
it's so
So
gross.
for us, it's see, I'm used to working in veterinary medicine. I mean, we handle fecal matter, poop, whatever you want to say, day in and day
Yeah,
out. You see worms under a microscope, hookworms, whipworms, roundworms all the time.
yeah,
You probably, the collective you of breeders probably doesn't have worms, but like with
yeah.
children, Jen, it's a lot of children actually do have pinworms and different things.
So
See,
when
now I'm in
we
veterinary mode. We're letting it all out on this this
yeah,
episode.
the our kids when they were little and we had them in a daycare, I remember going to daycare and every door, and they were basically encouraging us all to like really make sure the kids are washing their hands and all that
Hmm.
because they had a case of pinworms, and they
Yeah.
explain what the signs are and what to look for, and you're there as a parent and you're cringing and you're super paranoid and you're like,
Mortified.
what do you mean the kids can get this? You're hopefully they did not get it. Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
easy, especially in like a daycare setting with little kids for that to pass around. And it's things that people don't necessarily, right?
Yeah.
If they're not in that situation. But yeah, no, humans can have it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, we kind of went like sideways on that topic.
That's why I'm here. I'm like the veterinary side of things. So
uh,
I'm like,
I
let's
think
talk about it.
Scott earlier said, she's not just a pretty face. She's
I
dropping
know some things.
you're dropping knowledge over here, right?
That's what this is
Uh,
about.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the projects that you're working with, right? Well, actually, first of all, I have to ask, where did the name come from? Because we didn't touch on that.
I really wanted a name that would just honestly, my first thought was sound nice. And I like when things have repetition. So I was thinking of I was using I do a lot of AI research. So I was using
Okay.
AI to help me kind of think of names. And
Yeah.
I actually thought of glowing. I think my first thought was gorgeous geckos, but there's
Okay.
already a gorgeous geckos. So I really
Yeah.
wanted like a G gecko name. And then nobody had glowing geckos yet.
Oh, wow.
And there's no really profound story. I just really I liked how it sounded. I wanted like glowing geckos. Now I have, I guess, kind of pinned myself in with only the geckos, and I do have a lot of gecko species, but my
Yeah.
recent branding, I have a little and exotics I've added because I do work with some
Okay.
other like blue tongue skinks and some other specific species as well. But I have all the geckos. I think I'm up to 12 or 13 like distinct species of geckos. So
Yeah,
gecko
I
girl.
hear you. I hear you with Gecko Diva. I'm like, I've basically put myself in a box where it's just geckos.
Yes,
But then I'll
yes.
joke and I'm like, you know what? My husband has VIP morphs, so all of the above could just that category.
Put it
He's
on
gonna
him.
be, and I'm sure he's listening to me and he's like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thinking
no,
of a name is very hard. It's very
it
hard.
is. It's
Not
very
easy.
tough to kind of come up with something for
Mhm.
sure. And there's so many, and then you got to think like, you have to take. Yeah, you see, there he goes. F that.
Yeah.
And then you have to think of like, you have to go and see has Google search, has it been used
Yeah.
before? It might not be on Instagram, but maybe it's on Facebook, or maybe it's, has a website, and maybe it's on Morph Market, only use Morph Market. And like we found that out with
Hmm.
VIP Morphs. When we started using that name, like I thought I had done all the research to find out it was the only name. And after we started, we got the URL, the name for the website. We started building everything. Then I ended
Hmm.
up going on Facebook, I think it was, and then I was like, "What do you mean? There's already a VIP Morphs in the States?" And
It's
I was like, "Oh
crazy.
no!" So then everything had to be like VIP Morphs Canada, And then the individual who had VIP Morse, I think he was living in New York, ended up getting out of business, and he doesn't do the ball pythons anymore. So we
Mm,
kind of lucked out with that now we can just kind of keep the VIP Morse. But
yeah.
yeah, yeah, he says he closed now. Yeah, so I think he went into like I think he's growing marijuana or something. It went into a different
New industry.
completely different avenue. It was no longer snakes.
I mean, I
um
came into this always with having, because my master's is in healthcare administration, but
yeah,
it's an MBA, but just healthcare focused. So I always came in knowing there was going to be a business aspect to this. And I think a lot of people get in because they become obsessed with the animals. They buy animals too quickly. This kind of leads into projects.
yeah,
Oh gosh, they grow so fast. And then I have people asking me to, can I put animals on your table? And what do I do? They don't know. And, I'm not trying to call anyone specifically, but you have to do some work to understand, your liability. Do you form an LLC, S Corp, C Corp? In Florida, I
yeah,
have to have a class 3 wildlife permit. There's so much to consider. Marketing is really hard. It's exhausting. Even if you're part-time, you're breeding 3 females. Okay, you have 30 babies. Do you have the finances and space? So I think a lot of breeders um, go about it in the opposite way. They start only
mm,
with animals, and I think that a lot of people, even if you're considering a business, you need to lock down, like you guys said, your domain, what your plan is. Taking it slow is the best thing you can do. I mean, a lot of
yeah,
us bought so many animals when we were new, didn't have a plan for projects, and it's probably taken me a year and a half to redirect myself. And
yeah,
now, anytime I work with new people, I have a lot of great friends that I've met that are newer. My biggest advice is like, stop buying a bunch of $200 animals. Like, please just think about what you like. Instead of buying five $200 animals, buy $1,000 investment animal, please. Like, you will thank me
yeah.
next year.
Yeah, and I think that's a lesson that a lot of people have to learn, right? And it's I think that's the
All of
number
us.
one problem that when you come into it, like I've had the same experience too. When you come in, you're like, oh, I like this and I
Mhm.
want this and I want this, and you're like,
I
oh,
like
that's on
everything.
sale and that's on sale, and well,
Black
that's not too
Friday.
expensive. Yeah, I know. And it's like, okay, well, now I'm in a different mentality where I'm like, okay, if it's Black Friday, I'm like, I'm looking for a more higher investment animal that you're
Right.
excited that you're getting a deal on, but it's still a higher investment animal. But that's just because of how my and there's nothing wrong. We're not saying there's anything wrong with if
Um,
you want to work um with a lower priced animal. Everything has its place, and there's at the end of the day, there's higher end projects and there's low.
yeah.
Um
I do both, which people
yeah.
told me not to do. A lot of people told me the middle market is really bad, only focus on one or the other. I personally have had a lot of success with, I don't even like to say like low end, but like more common morphs. And that $200 to $500 range, that's hard to sell in. I've been very successful in that range.
Mhm.
And the higher end stuff is something that I'm more getting into this year. But I mean, I think a lot of it is Palm is literally Gecko Casino. And I say this as someone that's active on Palm and has done really well on Palm. Yes, it is. You have to have self control in this industry. We've
Yeah.
all talked to people that are 10, 20, 30, $40,000 in credit card debt from geckos in a year, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard because it's easy to buy. Shipping's cheap now. You have more market
Yeah.
shipping.
I
I
I could
mean,
I could tell you it's my saving grace with this Palm Street thing is that I'm in Canada. And every time I see something I like, I stop and I say, I have to import it. So, like, you know, so
uh,
everything I look at, I'm like, add $300, like, for at least for the import. Because if you're looking at one animal. So for me, it makes more sense to buy multiple and import them all at the
right,
same time, right?
right.
So yeah, my shopping time is usually springtime because that's when at least I can look at importing and then I can buy the ones
Mhm.
I want to bring in. But yeah, Jen says, love that Gecko Casino. And I can see how
Casino.
easy that can be. Um,
Literal gecko gambling problem.
Yeah, he says, "No, you'll have a husband that will be pissed." Says the husband who bought me a gecko on Christmas Eve. So we're
My
just
husband,
not
I always say,
there.
my husband is an absent gecko father. He I love that he supports me. He lets me have hundreds of geckos in our house, in our living room. And I showed you last night, I have a huge Leachianus in quarantine in my literal kitchen. So he lets me do all that. Like, not like he like lets me, but we I'm thankful he supports it, but he's not a gecko fan. So
So,
got Miami
so
Art
here it's
geckos.
because my husband says you buy that nice sexy dress that just sits in the closet that you bought on sale and give it away like 2 years with the tag still on it, and most of you have done something like that. And yes, I agree. And that's why
Guilty.
Scott is saying I take the tags off my dresses. 100% gecko math. I agree with that. Um, the so and it's funny that he's giving me a hard time about this because I am kind of an enabler. I'm there telling him yesterday that it was a good idea for him to look and consider buying a $5,000 snake. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great deal. And he's like, no, no,
Yeah,
we're not buying another snake.
I enable myself.
Yeah. Well,
Bobby,
and then
Palm
you
Street
have
is a good
to.
marketing tool.
It is.
Definitely.
Well, and it's like any tools that are out there are can be very useful for marketing. It really depends on how you approach it, right? And how you use it. Because
Yes.
something that could be a really great marketing tool for one person might not necessarily work as great for somebody else. And it really all depends on the circumstance. Like I know that you've
Yeah.
had great success with Palm Street. I mean, I know there's other people who haven't had as great success in Palm Street.
Right.
And it's not necessarily to to say that anyone's did something better or than somebody else. I mean, sometimes it's just the conditions and what you have available and the
Yeah.
time that you go on and
And it's your business model.
there's so many different factors that can contribute to that over
Yes.
at the end of the
Absolutely.
day.
I don't do as much on Morph Market, and a lot of people, Morph Market's their bread and butter because I have very restricted time. So for me to take pictures of 50 animals is right now out of the realm of possibility. So I'm not like Tara Lee, love her. Her Morph Market is candy, eye candy. You can see she
Yeah.
always has 150 geckos perfectly photographed. That's something that I
Yeah.
wish I could do, but I don't have the time to do it. So that's why I
Yeah.
like the lives with Palm. And I love, you can probably tell anyone who knows me, I love to talk to people. So I do a well at expos and shows too, because anyone who walks by, I'm like, hey, what's up? Come hold a
Yeah.
gecko. Let's
And
bring more people into this.
yeah, and Quality Bread Exotic says for real life gained over 400 followers in a few lives and it instead then been blowing up.
Hmm.
Yeah, so like the other thing I find like when you're looking at marketing and stuff, what I found very helpful and I've noticed that too especially through like the campaigning, right, for 15 minutes lame is when other lives and other like reptile chats or podcasts that people are
Yeah.
having and you go and you talk with people in the chat, I find that I'll see and meet people that I haven't known before, follow them on
Yeah.
Instagram.
In the chat, because
Yeah, you meet
you're
them in the
making that
chat.
connection. You're
Yeah,
literally making a connection.
yeah, and
And
I
especially
find that
with this
is a
topic.
huge, yeah, it's a huge plus. I think that when you're starting to interact with other people, that's when you're noticing that interaction kind of comes both ways, right? It comes back to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, now it's funny. We're almost hit the hour, and I'm like, we got to start talking about the animals and the
We gotta
projects
do
that you work
projects
with.
now.
How quick does that go by, eh? So I'm gonna pop up some animals because I want to hear what you're working with. So you take the
Yes.
floor and tell me. So we got a Lily here.
All right. Yeah. So like a lot of you, when I started, I bought a lot of animals, and so I sent some pictures to Crystal for things that I'm interested in, like focusing really in this year and being known for. So I'm a redhead. I love red animals. So going into a lot of projects for me, working on fixing head structure. So starting with an animal like this, where I love the quality of the white, I love the how red. And this is actually a year old photo. This girl is even more coverage now, but
Okay.
my logo, I have the red lily like front and center because I love a red animal. I love a red lily, and making orange and red fraps is and caps is a huge passion of mine as well. So I know lilies, people will say it's very common now, but I mean nothing beats a beautiful red lily for me.
I
I'm a
think,
lily girl.
and you know what? I love lilies too. I feel ya. I'm same page. I think there's so much really cool things too that are still that are still left undone that we can still do with
Yes.
lilies, and especially with a lot of the newer genetics that are popping up and seeing how
Hmm.
those interact, and like how a combination of different things, like like how does it work when you
Yeah.
put pinstripe and white wall, or how does it work when you're adding pixel, or if you're adding xanthic, or like where there's so many different things that we are still left to uncover, and we're just scratching the
Hmm.
surface. And you're
We
seeing
talked
too
about
with
that offline.
cappuccino, like even the cappuccinos, you're seeing now more of an orange or more of a red, or and then you start
Yes.
putting lily in that. And I was seeing, like, I think this is Scott that had the frappuccino that's like a red frap.
He has some red fraps. Stephen Richard Early. I forgot to send you my orange cappuccino mail, but
Okay.
the red and the orange, especially with the tigering. So this is a basic lily, but we spoke offline about, everyone has their secret behind the scenes projects,
Yeah.
and bringing lily away from where it's kind of settled, which is bad head structure, just maybe like low expression white, like elevating that to create like focusing in on I appreciate the highlighter gene, but I like my lilies white. So
Yeah.
like white lilies, very high coverage, very bright base color, better head structure. That's a big thing that I want to focus on, because you'll see lilies at shows now for $100, and they
Hmm.
are maybe not, not to talk bad about like pet pet animals, but I would like to introduce be one of those people working towards like a really high quality lily, even though they've been
Yeah.
around for over a decade. That's something that I love to do.
Yeah, and and the highlighter gene, like you'll see it in a lot of different lilies. I think certain things are really striking in certain combos, because I have to admit, like,
Yeah.
I've seen some xanthic, like really almost black xanthic lilies,
Hmm.
where the highlighter gene is strong, and that is like black and
Yes.
yellow is
With
so
Xanthic.
cool. Yeah, and
Hmm.
then like, and we were talking yesterday about like different types of tangerine and stuff where you're having that white
Yes.
saturated where it's orange. I'm like, that has its place too. So like, when you're looking at it actually, I agree. Like, I like the white, the paper white, where it's clean and it pops, and there's a pop of color where you're seeing
Hmm.
like the contrast of the white and like the red, or what color you're having underneath it. But
Yeah.
everyone will have their taste, right? When lily, some people like
Hmm.
full coverage lily where they want the whole thing to be white. So
I want some color on mine.
yeah. And Samantha's saying Cresty Spectrum has some blood orange cap fraps projects too, which are
Ooh.
really cool.
I'll
Yeah,
have to reach out.
and
I'll have to reach out.
uh, and Scott says reds are my number one project.
A
Reds are
lot of
really
my
cool.
reds come from Scott. Back when a couple years ago when I was new, he really helped me get a lot of nice red animals. So I'm so grateful to him.
Yeah, you get the red is cool because you get a spectrum, right? Like you'll have more of a dark red, but then you'll get the vibrant, like really like bright fire truck red, and or pinks if you're putting hypo into it.
Yes,
So
I love
there's
Pink Project.
there's a huge spectrum, which is a lot of fun. Good morning, Charlie. So here's our 15 minutes lame winner, everybody. Gecko people, go
Good
and shoot
morning,
Charlie a message and be like, "Damn
congratulations.
you, Charlie." I'm just
I
kidding.
mean, no congratulations.
No, he's in the chat because I'm slowly trying to convert him over to be a gecko person. Shh, don't tell anyone.
Yes.
Yeah, no. Bobby says, "How do you breed for a fire engine red?" So yeah, we're asking the people who know the reds. Do you have any tips or tricks that you can share with red pairings?
Yeah, I have my tips, but I'm probably not the expert to speak on this. Where I've gotten really, really good reds is a bright red or a hypo red to a really dark base animal. I
Mhm.
do find red to red I get a spectrum, which I enjoy, but you will get brick red up to bright fire engine red. I think hypo can, yeah, Quincy's point was just stacking.
Yeah.
So a lot of my red to reds, I might only have a few that come out gorgeous bright red, and I'll get some brick red and some other, you'll get phantoms a lot, but I think adding in the hypo, playing around with black base to red base. I know this is a taboo, but a lot of the orange base animals that I love were, as Quincy said, stacking, but some of those have come out of friends that have done red to yellow pairings. So that's something I
I
may have to do a
so
red to yellow this year, just to see what
so
happens.
I'm like over here and I'm like, I do a lot of yellow to red pairings.
I'm gonna do it this
And
year. I'm
and
gonna
I
try it.
find it makes some really nice, like really nice reds. I have popped out some more like brick red, but
Yeah,
for the most part, the reds that I have been really nice.
that's always
Some of
gonna
my
happen.
some of my
You're always gonna
holdbacks
get
are
some
from
muddy
that, right?
reds.
So
I feel like
um
you always get some muddy reds when you work with reds.
get fire engine red, breed to fire engine red to keep the babies until they're at least 20 grams. Well, that's the thing with the
That's the
reds.
hard
It takes
part.
a while, right? To
You have
kind
to
of
hold
see
on to
what's
it.
gonna, yeah.
Yes. Oh, it's a pain, but that's
Good
what you have to
morning,
do if you want to
Jared.
work with red.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's you get to know the animals you're working with too, right?
Yeah.
So you'll really get to see, like, once you start working, if you're doing a repeat, not necessarily repeat pairing, but like if you're using a male and you're seeing in certain projects, they're like, oh, okay, I know what this male is producing in certain combinations, and same with females, right? You kind of learn from that.
Yeah. Gecko Nerd says
Okay.
hypo is key, and I completely agree. And I think that the quality of the hypo and the quality of the red is a really big factor, because there's low quality. People use lavender and hypo interchangeably, which I don't love, but I think a high quality hypo, and that's how you can get the pinks, the really bright reds. And then
Yeah.
Bobby, I'm not going to talk on genetic hypo because I'm not I'm not involved in they changed the name, I think, of genetic hypo recently.
Uh
That's
I
advanced
I
geckos.
feel like Quincy can drop it in the chat, because yes, because there was the super form was Blizzard. What is the regular
There's been
form?
some
And
changes to
there was
their
a
the
change to the
naming.
name because it's not genetic
Yeah.
hypo anymore. But I do recall the super being a Blizzard. So now I don't remember what the single gene is. Quincy, put it in the chat
Yeah, Quincy, let us know.
if you know it.
Yeah, the Reds are born brown.
They aren't born
They
fire
call it
energy.
fire.
Yeah, they're
Quincy's
definitely.
right. They call it
Oh yeah,
fire
that's right. It
now.
is fire. Yeah. And we have a fireball python gene as well. So I remember saying, "Oh, like
Exactly.
the fireball pythons." Fire, and then
Jeez.
it's blizzard. It's like completely opposite of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Good morning,
Yeah.
mother of geckos.
Hey, good morning.
Red
I
phantom
love a
lilies.
red
A
phantom
lot
lily.
of lot of love. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
let's like they're one of my favorites. The reds and the yellow lilies too are some of my favorites.
Oh, I have some gorgeous yellow lilies, and they're white, like white, white. I love it.
Yeah, it
I'm a
pops.
recent yellow convert. Oh, this was
Okay.
my Black Friday uh, purchase. So I've dabbled in Dalmatian. This is a well-known story that I got my first
Okay.
ever Dalmatian from Gecko Nerd Quincy. She's probably two
Okay.
and a half now, maybe, but my first
Okay.
ever Dal I got from, and I named her Cookie. But this is my altitude Black Friday purchase.
Nice.
These were late night photos, so not the best, but I've been this year. I love like the large ink spot
Yeah.
Dalmatians. So I have kind of two Dal projects: the red base, the tri spot with the white portholes, the black spots, oil spots, red spots, and then these really trying to get like clean base with the large ink spot. So this is my Black Friday girl, but I have a mail from Tara Lee. I have a lot of Dals for this year that I'm newer to Dals. They weren't my initial, favorite, but I cannot wait to show you guys dolls from this year because I have I have a little stable of them. I look at them every day, just like, oh, you guys are beautiful.
So you're all the projects where you got to sit and wait a little bit longer because the reds you got to sit until they're a bit bigger, and the
Oh,
dowels too
no.
because you got to wait till the spots start popping out.
And I'm not a patient person, so what am I doing to myself?
It's okay. It's part of the magic. You get to see them grow, and then like next thing you know, you come over and you're like, "You didn't look like that yesterday. What happened overnight?"
Yeah. They grow 5 grams. I'm like, who are you?
Yeah, no. Well, that's exciting. Yeah, I like the dowels. I find that anything with dowel spots tend to be really popular at expos. I don't know if it's the same thing
They
in the States.
are. It
You'll
is.
have a lot of families and kids will come over and they'll be like, "Oh, it has a spot." And it's like they're just
Mhm.
drawn right to the one with the spots. I have a little a lily dowel project for this year for 2025.
Oh. Oh,
So we'll
yeah.
see what comes out of that, but yeah, it's definitely a fun project to invest in for sure. There's some really cool dowels out there.
I'm new to dowels, but the
Let's see
big
here.
ink
Did I
spots,
lose? Oh, you're
I
back.
can't
I thought
wait.
I was you went quiet for a second. I think I lost you, but you're back. Okay.
I'm here. Oh, so
And then
I
tell
wish
us
I had a
this little
better,
guy.
yeah, I wish I had a better example. I was doing some late night photos because anyone who knows me, I don't have time to do photos. This is just a little baby, but I really love the very extreme tricolor, the very triple X style. So this baby's, gosh, maybe three months at this point. This was a lily to an extreme pairing, like an extreme lily, and I just love that triple X. And this one doesn't have. It looks more cream in the photo. You can see some white coming up the laterals.
Okay.
I mean, I love tricolors. They were my first favorite gecko with reds. They're still my favorite. I have probably 10 to 15 like very high end tricolor girls for this year that I desperately need to take pictures of and post for you guys. But I love me like a black base, orange, tons of white. I have a male that's another photo I'll be using this year. But oh, tricolors are forever have my heart. A lot of people tell me if this is the same in Canada. A lot of people down here are getting out of tricolors. So I'm
So
ready to
yeah,
build up tricolors.
yeah. It's kind of been a weird, I think, vibe. In Canada, there's been a lot of focus has been on high white, like high cream, high white, extreme
Yeah.
Harleys and tricolors. Those were the two big ones, and dowels. So like there was like some
Yeah.
breeders
They'll
really worked
always
with
be there.
dowels and structure with dowels, and then there was a lot of high cream and tries. I
Hmm.
still see a lot of that. We don't have a whole bunch of breeders that are working with niche projects. That's really been starting to happen over the last couple years, and a lot
Hmm.
of them are younger animals that are people are still growing up, right? And we've talked
Yeah.
about this before. Like if you were in Canada and you were looking to get a visual exanthic, there's really like less, like a handful, like maybe three, maybe four breeders that you could go to and see if you can
Yeah.
purchase an
You're more
exanthic
limited up
from.
there.
Yeah, and like I would even know who to go to if I wanted a sable. Like if I wanted a sable, that's something
Hmm.
I'm importing 100%.
Yeah.
Cappuccinos, it's basically the same people that are working with exanthics that have caps.
Yeah.
Um, so when you're looking at those type of um genetics, like I think we're maybe three or four people working with Pixel on a
Hmm.
smaller scale, right? So there's not a lot of like we don't have as many people, right? So we don't have
Yeah.
as many breeders that are working with things, and a lot of the things that people are working with seem to be very similar. And then there's a couple of us that have niche projects, very young
Yeah.
projects. So I'm actually very excited to see because I see a lot of Canadian breeders have been posting a lot of stuff of projects that they're excited about, and I'm
Yeah.
excited to see that kind of boom over the next couple years, right? Where you're going to have a
Right.
lot more people working with things and showcasing it. Um, but yeah, like the tricolor has definitely been a popular one in Canada for sure.
I think a lot of tricolors are very low quality, and people call things tricolors that are not tricolors.
Yeah.
So I almost wish like kind of like with Lily, I want to elevate it and have like very black base, a very bright orange that doesn't fade, and that's
Yeah.
triple X, very extreme, and then nice high white that's not covering the entire animal. So for me, a lot of what I do is work with maybe specific morphs, but I want to make it. I don't just want to produce 200 tricolors. I want to produce like 50 like perfect tricolors. So
Yeah.
trying to increase quality is a huge project. It's huge for me this year.
Yeah. Tricolors has been a project that I myself kind of stayed away from. There was a lot of people that were working with them, and the high cream as well. And like for me, like there were other projects that I was more excited about. I
Hmm.
hatched out tricolors though in my pixel stuff. So like by default,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh well, I gotta work with tricolor anyways, because it's
Now
gonna be
you know
a
your
pixel.
tricolor.
And it looks really cool in some of those things. So like yeah, I'm kind of excited to work with it and see how it's, because the orange with pixel right really pops and you really see that. So
Yeah.
definitely I by
And
default
hypos,
I'll be
I think,
working with it.
contributing to that. I think the hypo
Yeah.
contributes a lot to the orange tangerine popping.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, that's exciting. So you're mainly focused on like structure and really bringing like that more of an extreme or triple X kind of look to it, right?
With these ones, yes. So with the extremes, I want to have like full triple X, like color all the way up over the dorsal, high quality white, very high quality orange that stays. Tricolor, like extreme tricolor lilies are a big passion of mine. The different lily morphs are a big passion of mine. And then I've started to expand into, I know you have more photos, but kind of getting ahead this year, I'll be doing a big push with some help with of friends with Azanthic.
Okay.
Oh yeah, so this boy is an example of another kind of. This is the beginning phase. He's not the end. He needs more orange. This boy is from Noelle from Two Girls Geckos, who I adore her. I love her so much. This boy is stunning, but he brings in the white, like that white
Yeah.
white, not the cream, on
Right
his
from his
lap.
belly, you can see it. It's wild.
He's
Yeah.
stunning. So him with like more high orange girls, for example. So really kind of refining what my vision is of tricolor, which is like almost like that flame look and that really triple X coming up. So I want that dark base, that orange, the white, and I want to have. I think he is a Teasel kid. Yeah. So kind of refining. Tricolors I feel like have gone so downhill, and they're so I want to have like is it HDK, like some of his
Yeah.
tricolors are just insane. Like
They're
I
wild.
want,
Yeah.
or Gecko days, like I want to I that's the kind of try that I like to work with.
Do you work with the red tries at all?
I do actually. Some of my first ones ever are from Scott, so I do
Okay.
work with red tricolors. They're lower white, but I do, and I actually have a lot of red tricolor lilies, so
Okay. Yeah.
I need to get more pictures.
The red tricolor lilies are really cool. Yeah. And I find I don't see as many red tries out
No.
there, which would be really cool to see like the different, like the red, really different colors pop on a red try. But
Hmm.
like it's harder when there's not as much out there to work with too, right? So
Yeah. I do have red tries, and that is kind of a sub project of red and tri that this year
okay.
I'll be working on. Gabby does have amazing tricolors, and a lot of my high quality tri stuff comes from Gabby and Gabby's lineage, because the quality of white going back to Emily Burke is just like,
Yeah,
oh, perfect.
pristine. And we got this little empty back.
I threw this in last night because we were talking about empty back. I have so much empty back accidentally in my collection that I've really, this is a conversation I've had with Quincy too, Gecko Nerd. I just accidentally have empty back and soft scale and these different things, and I kind of just discredit it for a long time. And now I'm going through and deciding to really build a project around it because I already have it. So this is a little super I had accidentally laying around. He's a little tiny. He's probably like 2.5 grams. So I was like, all right, let's throw him in there because I have a lot of EB, and I'm officially, I made a bunch my Palm Street my Palm Street viewers know I accidentally made a lot of EBs this year. So let's intentionally next year do more with the EB and that white wall, the white wall with the pinning on it. So that's the
I
new.
feel like there's a lot of people that got into EB as a project that exact same way because that's how I
Yeah.
fell into it as well. And I was like,
It's just,
"Oh, like yeah, like we say here, a happy little accident."
yeah. How did this happen? I don't know, but I have
Right?
so many
You're
now.
like, "Well, I guess I'm working with EB now."
Same, same. And last kind of project shout out is with Jennifer Woods. She has a stunning visual axanthic male who's with in Florida here. He's on vacation.
Oh,
So I
fun.
have some 100% hets and possible het, like really interesting females that I'll be breeding to him in a. It's kind of like a three-way collab with Miami Art Geckos and Jennifer Woods and me. So I have I'm excited to show some of
Okay.
those because we talked about I want to move away from just really basic. I don't want a basic tricolor. I want a really cool tricolor. Same thing with Axanthic. So I have it's an orange Phantom Lily that's from Chris at Rock and Roll Geckos, and she's a proven 100% het Axanthic. So we have
Okay.
like the Lily, we have the Phantom, interesting base color, and then I have like just very dark. I love the really dark Axanthic. So
Mhm.
and of course Lily Axanthic, but like I want to achieve that black and the white. So Scott's holding them hostage. I'll come to your house, Scott. I'll break him out of jail.
So yeah, Bobby says, "What's your favorite species to work with after crested geckos?" And wait. This is when I pop in and I do this.
This photo is from Bobby. Okay, this I'm so glad he's here because I had to say photo credit to Bobby. So something that I'm trying to work with, and there's a few other people doing it, is like yellow stripe pattern. Now I'm not a
Mm,
gargoyle expert. I'm trying to become one. This insane baby is from Bobby at Gecko Cove, but the black and yellow gargoyles is a big
yeah.
project for me. You have Paul at Rack House, other people that have been trying to do this for 20 years. So I'm throwing I have a male and some females and babies, and I'm hoping that I can contribute to this really cool project because we have so much red in Gargs and
Yeah.
orange, and I want to see this yellow happen. So
I'm really
I'm
excited about
trying.
that because I was talking to Bobby about this, and Bobby, keep me in mind if you have any more yellows.
No,
'Cause
give
I
them to
think
me, Bobby. Bobby,
y
we're cool.
I have the green geckos.
It's true. It's
No,
true.
like, the yellows are so cool, and, like, I've been on a hunt to try to find some yellow geckos or the guards, and
It's
they're not easy to find.
hard. I've spent way too much. Don't tell my husband if he'll never see this. Spent way too much on the yellow Garg army.
My husband says
No,
no.
Bobby.
He
You
has
got one left.
oh, goodness. Yeah, no, like, it's been tough to find them. Like, it's
They don't really exist even. A lot of them are faded oranges or, like I've learned from these Garg experts, there's the base color, the stripe color, the pattern. There's so many different combinations, and you stack orange, and instead of getting really nice orange, it stacks into red. Like there's so much happening here. So I'm trying to be very selective with these like pastel and black and white and trying to get yellow. And just I want this as an adult, and I'm all in on trying to get this yellow stripe Garg. And I'm new to the game. People have been doing this for decades, but I love Gargs a lot too, and
and
lychees and yuris and
you sent a couple, so you sent? So tell me about this guy.
yellows from Gecko. Yeah, so I'm trying to. This is just a male Garg that is young and has a lot of yellow. So he's a male that I'll be using this year. Um, as one of the males that's going to go to several females. So trying just to see like what I can get. I have a lot of very like white like light pastel gargs. So because of that stacking, I'm hoping him with like a very light stripe. Maybe we can get the yellow. But I have about 10 females that I'm working with for this yellow stripe, yellow base garg project. So you guys will have to stay tuned and see if I can do anything. I have to see Gecko Nerd and Gecko Room. I'll have to see the yellow stuff you guys have.
Yeah, so I was talking to Mark about this, and Gerald, I see you're in the comments with your Garg line name, and we've talked to Mark about this, so I'm not posting it on the screen. But yeah, it'd be a really cool name. It's really fun branding. But yes, he has some really cool yellow gecko stuff, like yellow gargs. Gecko Nerd, do you mean yellow base or yellow stripe?
This is where yellow gets confusing because
Yes.
and I've talked to a lot of these guys that know infinitely more than me. There's, the base and the stripe, like to my knowledge, and I just spoke to Paul at Rack House this weekend. He says that like true yellow stripe is not really in existence yet. It's like being currently worked on. So guess
Yeah.
we'll guess we'll
Oh,
see.
he says he's got both. Yeah, well, that's awesome. I know he showed me a bunch of pictures of his and stuff that he's working with, and yellow stuff is really cool. We see so much really nice stuff in red and stuff. It's
Mm-hmm.
exciting to see different, within Gargs
Yeah.
and expand the possibilities of what can be made, like produced and
Yeah.
with different combos.
I love
And then
that
we
so
have a
many
little,
people are working with the yellow gargs because I think it's kind of the future now that we have. So like this boy, of course, white balance is not great here, but there's a lot of different kinds of red going on, and this is just one red boy I snapped a photo of because he's handsome. But we have this high quality red, and I love working with red. But I really
yeah,
think the yellow gargs. I'm so happy to see a lot of people working on it.
yeah, we have a couple
We're gonna
Gargs
all get
here.
together.
We got a couple Gargs here that we have as that we just got kind of as pets. So my husband
Hmm.
has two and I have one, and they're orange. He has a black and white and then an orange stripe, and I have an orange stripe here. So I'm like, well, it's definitely different than I find, like, even when I'm handling them and stuff, they're different than the Cresties, right? So I'm just kind of
Hmm.
learning and getting used to,
Yeah.
how it is to have a guard, but I'm kind of considering expand his
Yeah.
Gecko
Do it.
Divas. Definitely
Do it.
expand. Um, Gecko Nerd.
I've
So
all been
Quincy's
different.
saying, pretty rare. All mine are reds. Yeah, and we see, like you were saying, like there's oranges, and then the oranges end up fading. Gerald, you can say no all you want. This is my gecko room.
Yes, we're in her podcast.
And then you're also working with lychees, you said, right? You're going to start
This
working
is a
with the lychee
new,
project?
yeah, new development. So last year I was working with just GTX and wasn't really having a lot of fulfillment with that personally. So I actually ended up selling all of my lychees. And then this year, it kind of by chance, I ended up with a baby that is from kind of it's pure Kanawha, F2 Kanawha, and this comes from a lot of help, actually, Bobby at Gecko Cove,
Okay.
and kind of re-inspired my love of lychees because I really working with GTX and not focusing on localities kind of just burned me out. And then this year I've really rediscovered how much I love lychees. So I'm focusing in hardcore on Kanawha, and they're more rare insular locality. They're not as common as like you see like Nuami and Nuana. They get like pink and purple bars. So this is a juvenile female here. So that's something that it's a more of a long-term project. I have a lot of new cows. I have the Sarah sonorum and two Euryodactylidae species, but these Kanawha specific, I owe a lot of friends a thank you for like really bringing the lychee passion back to me because I fell out of love with lychees last year. A lot more than just
Lychees,
Cresties going on here.
yeah, lychees are one that I've always been super interested in, but I've always been kind of nervous after hearing, certain stories and stuff of people having like issues with pairings and whatnot. I'm like, oh, do I
Hmm.
really want to go down that road? But I might consider getting one definitely as a pet because they're so cool.
Yes, they're so cute, and
And
they
it always
hold your
starts like
hand so
that, though.
tight.
You end up getting something as a pet, and then it's like, oh, well, I love it so much.
Yeah. My
So that's
first Yuri
super
was a
exciting.
pet. Now I have a ton of Yuris. So many. So many for this year, probably 10 females breeding, so.
So, is there anything like any projects that you haven't kind of got into yet that you're thinking of maybe or that you'd like to start working with, whether it be like a Cresty
Hmm.
project or just a different species? Is there something in Glowing Gecko's future? Or at
Oh
least
my gosh,
hopeful?
there's a lot. Right now I'm trying to really focus in on specific ththings with the Cresties, just because I
Mhm.
did what a lot of new breeders do, and I had a lot of, like, 2 years ago, just a mishmash. So we covered a lot of things I like: caps, fraps, lilies, starting with the axanthic, just like high quality, gorgeous animals.
Yeah.
The Uris, I have agricoli, and guys, is it Vilardi or Viardi? Because I hear both ways, but I love the Uris so much, working with the high orange projects and kind of the hypermelanistics on them.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed working with a variety of new cow species. So, oh, and then the last thing is blue tongue skinks. I work with the magma and the high red and high orange blue tongue skinks.
Oh,
So that
fun.
is my lizard thing that's not gecko. And then the last non-gecko is Schneider skinks, which is a smaller, very fun and social species of skink. They are so great, but they're all imported. There's almost no captive born and bred projects happening.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm in a
Okay.
very small group of people with pairs and trios, and we're working this year on hopefully having, like, real CBB for, like, almost the first time with the Schneider skink. So
Oh,
kind
that's
of
awesome.
establishing captive born and bred is a big thing for me too. So yeah, there's lots of things.
My husband says that you were great, and I may have to have you back on. Then she sounds like an enabler. I'm like, well, she
Have
doesn't have
me
to be on the
back
podcast to
whenever.
be an enabler, Gerald, because I have DMs, right? So,
What do they
um,
eat? Do you mean the skinks, Bobby? If so, they're omnivorous, so a variety of live insects, dog food, cat food, vegetables. They're very fun to feed. Snails, they're really fun omnivore species. So
yeah, it was
skinks are fun, and they're big.
Chris from Fat Man Nation. So he has a pet skink. He's kind of used to have like a whole ball python breeding thing and stuff, right? So now he's kind of he downgraded to he has one pet skink, and he always jokes and laughs. He's like, I just wanted the pet potato that I could feed dog food to. So,
Yes. I'm sorry,
but
but they're better than bearded dragons, in my opinion.
and I'm here and I have a bearded dragon. I feed him like all
No one
sorts of
get
little veggie
mad.
lettuce. No. Yeah, the skinks are really cool, that's for sure. So thanks so much for popping on. How can people find
Yes.
you? Where are you? It's like you're on Palm Street, right? And you have an auction coming up this week
Yes.
on the
I
4th, I think.
on yes, so I do Saturdays. I'm probably going to every other Saturday in the new year, just because every week was the amount of shipping, it was getting out of hand. So
Yeah.
Saturdays, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, I'm on Palm Street. I'm
Okay.
on Instagram. It's Glowing Geckos LLC. If you end up at regular Glowing Geckos, I have that, but it's Glowing Geckos LLC.
Okay.
Glowinggeckos.com has all my info. I'm on Morph Market, Glowing Geckos LLC. I don't think there's a lot of other Glowing Geckos stuff out there except,
Yeah.
like, Google Images. But if you look up Glowing Geckos, you should be able to find me pretty easily. I'll see
Yeah.
you at
And
the
I
casino, Samantha and Jen.
see you at the casino. I'll be there to watch and like restrain, like not
I'll
purchase
be
anything
dealing.
because unless you have something really, then I'm like, and then my husband's gonna be there. No, stop it.
Send them out of the
uh,
house.
yeah. The or I was gonna say something and now I lost my train of thought. We were talking about all the links that you're saying are in the info. So if anyone wants the quick links, you can just go in the info of the video and they should be mostly all there because I think I grabbed most of them from your Instagram.
Great.
And
Thank
yeah,
you.
so they should all be there if you want to go find her page. And definitely had a great chat. We'll have to do this again.
Yes.
And thank you
Yes.
so much for joining us, you know, and making time in your busy schedule to come and talk with all us gecko people.
Thank you too. I love the community and thank you, Crystal, for this platform. And I'll definitely see all of you guys soon at the casino and on Instagram. Thank you
Yeah,
guys.
for sure. Thank you. I'll see you backstage. I'm just going to close off the show.
Yes.
Thanks. Awesome. Nicole is such a fun person, and 100% like go check out what she has on her Palm Street. And she just brings such a great energy and so much I love chatting with her. I had her on today. Thank you everyone who took the time to join in and not took the time, who, because let's be real, it is holidays and we are all very, very busy people, and it is Sunday morning. So I appreciate each and every one of you. And for those of you that are catching the replay, thank you very much for tuning in. Again, I'm taking a break for January. It's just kind of a little break for me, and then I can kind of sorted. If anyone who hasn't been on the podcast, who watches the podcast and would like to come on and be a guest, shoot me a DM. I would love to chat with you. If you have anyone that you want to see or any recommendations, suggestions, again, send me info. DM by Instagram is probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. And I will be back in February putting out a schedule anyways for the end of January, so you'll be able to see what's coming up, and super excited to start the new year and keep some more episodes of Coffee and Cresties. So everyone have an awesome rest of your Sunday. For those of you who are off, have a great rest of your holiday. Those of you who are working, sorry that you're working, and I hope you have a, you know, not too chaotic of a work schedule during the holidays, and you can still have fun with friends and family and enjoy some time. And I will see you all in the new year. And have an awesome week.
Shake your dreams from your hair. I'm already there, right beside you.